So each of these four expressions, they're all equations, has parentheses floating around it. But not everything is distributive property. So you really got to look at not just the superficial, oh, I see a parenthesis there, and look at really what's happening before you make the decision what's going on, what property it is. So let's look at the first one. What property allows us to say that if we add 3 plus x first and then add y, that we get the same thing as if we add x plus y first and then add 3? What's the property that allows us to group things together like that but basically leave the same order? That's associative. It's how things are associated. That's all that's changed, is how things are kind of grouped together. This is an example of the associative property. Good. Now let's look at this one. Again, there's parentheses and there's this kind of multiplication and addition. But what's really all that's going on here?
Distributive.
Well, is it distributive?
Associative.
Okay. What's essentially the difference between this side and this side? What's the difference?
X is on the opposite side of the
The x is on the opposite side. So which property says you can just move x around, swap the places of two things that are being multiplied by each other?
Commutative.
That's commutative property. People out here in Montana don't necessarily have long commutes, but this word commute is in there. It's going forward and backward to a place is what we call a commute. These things just swap places. That makes it commutative property. What's going on here? 3 times 2 equals 2 times 3. This is also a commutative property. This is a little bit easier to see because this looks like the start of distributive property. And yeah, x times the quantity y plus z is something that will be affected by distributive property, but the thing that it says you can re-express it this way, that's just an order swap. What about here? What's this?
Distributive.
That is distributive property. We aren't just switching order here. We are taking this multiplication problem, basically, this times this sum, and say, you know what, let's do the two multiplications first and then combine them, instead of doing the combination with addition first. That's the distributive property. I'm going to give you a homework assignment tonight, which I'll lay out in a minute. And for the sake of the online people, I'm also giving out your practice exam. You have an exam on Friday. What we'll do is we'll go over the practice exam, make sure your answers are okay. Okay, make sure if you have questions, ask them. And then the last 25 minutes of the class, we'll have our exam. For those of you taking the class online, it's in the Doc Sharing tab, where both the practice exam and its answers are located.